In today's video, I will be talking about both Venti and Wriothesley and which one is the best for you depending on what type of character you currently need and whether you need a main DPS or support. Also, be sure to check out my Hu versus neuvillette video to have a better idea when deciding between all 4 of the 5-star characters in patch 4.1, and the quick guide video for Wriothesley will be ready in the upcoming days, so stay tuned for that one as well and a lot more content. So this video will only shortly cover both characters. Now, let's talk about the new upcoming first ever 5-star Cryo Catalyst character, Wriothesley. Let's have a little introduction as to what he does. He will be an on-field DPS character that deals damage using a combo of boosted normal and charge attacks by using his elemental skill. And yes, his elemental skill alone doesn't deal any damage, but it boosts normal and charge attacks by using it with 10 seconds duration and 16-second cooldown, which by using it at the start of your rotation, his attacks will be buffed and his HP starts to get lower, and after a certain amount, using his charge attack will help his next charge attack not to consume any stamina and have increased damage. Also, it will heal him, which allows him to take advantage of Marichuse Hunter set, same as neuvillette, since he has HP fluctuating capabilities and also has a high instantaneous damage from his burst that will hit for 5 times in front of him. Now, the only downside that I can think of is that he lacks AoE damage, since the only AoE source of damage that he has is from his burst. That may not be a big deal overall, but when it comes to content like Spiral Abyss, where you fight a lot of enemies at once and they can be scattered all over the place, it could be problematic without the right team and rotations. I should also mention that he doesn't provide any supporting capabilities and he's purely an on-field DPS character, so don't count on him if you're looking for a support character. And also seems like if you don't like Ayaka and her sprint animation, which I've seen a lot of people in Reddit or YouTube comments, that people don't like Ayaka simply because of her sprint, although I really love her, but it's understandable. So he can be a good driver for freeze teams instead of Ayaka, and I think that's where he will get the most value, although he will not be the most insane character in the game unless people discover something new that we currently don't know when he actually gets released in the game. So, the type of team comps he will work in. And no, this is not a guide, that one will be ready soon, but it's worth mentioning that he will be good in freeze teams as I said, and reverse melt teams, and characters like Shangling and Shengshou can be really amazing with their off-field presence, especially for a character that requires a lot of on-field time. So if you have them built, your Wriothesley will perform a lot better, but stay tuned for more on that later in another video. Last thing for Wriothesley, is he a free-to-play friendly character when it comes to weapon? I would have to say 5-star catalyst weapons are obviously better for him. He will get the job done by using 4-star weapons such as Flowing Purity, which is a craftable fontaine weapon, so I would say yes, he will work just fine on a free-to-play account, especially in team comps that heavily relies on reactions, because that weapon increases elemental damage after using an elemental skill, meaning characters that rely on elemental reaction damage can make use of this weapon a lot more. So I will have a conclusion at the end of this video, so let's talk about the next character for now. That is none other than the Animal Archon Venti, which is one of the most disrespected characters in the game because of comparison to Kazuha and Sucrose, even by me, but it shouldn't really mean that he isn't valuable. Unlike the other 3 5-star characters in both Phase 1 and 2 of 4.1, he's not an on-field DPS character. Instead, he's a support character and arguably provides one of, if not the best, crowd control capabilities in the game by using his burst, although he's gonna have a harder time against bigger enemies because he won't be able to pull them in, but you will still get Anemo, Stroll, and Elemental Resistance Shred with his burst, and when combined with Hydro, Pyro, Electro, and Cryo, it will give 15 energy to himself and all the party members with the same infused type of element. And also, when it comes to smaller enemies, his ability is fantastic in both aspects of damage and crowd control. He also has low elemental burst cost, meaning you can spam his burst and swap to a different character, which is always nice to have a character like that in your team. And since Anemo is more of a universal element and Stroll is an amazing reaction to enhance your elemental reaction damage, he's gonna help enhance your team and is flexible to fit into many different team comps. He has an easy to understand playstyle and his elemental skill can also help you in the open world exploration, which has a low cooldown that creates a wind current and in some cases helps your character do plunge attacks when needed and climb higher in exploration. And when used against enemies, it can generate a fairly good amount of energy particles for him. Now remember, if you're using him with close range melee characters, his burst may hurt your damage potential, because unlike Kazuha's crowd control that brings enemies closer to your character to deal more damage, he will make them harder to reach, so you may potentially lose some damage when pairing him up with close range melee characters, but it's not that big of a deal for most teams, and it's also a really satisfying burst to use as well. Now, is he good in most team comps? Yes. As long as he's paired with elements that can be swirled like Electro, Hydro, Pyro, and Cryo, he's going to add so much value to your team. And is he free to play friendly? Yes. He can use Stringless for Elemental Mastery and amazing passive that will help him maximize his value in your team, but also for the absolute free to play option, you can use Favonius Warbow on him, which everyone has a copy of for free early on in the game from doing Mondstadt or Conquest, so he can be a great unit in free-to-play accounts. So I don't want to bore you guys anymore, and shortly I want to have the conclusion. If you need a strong support and crowd control character, you should pull for Venti, but if you already have, let's say, a built Sucrose or Kazuha, and you may require a main DPS to carry you throughout the content of the game like Spiral Abyss or the open world, then you should go for other 3 5-star characters in version 4.1, which are Neuvillette, Hu, and Wriothesley, but also keep in mind that patch 4.2 will not only get Hydro Archon Farina for us, who's going to be really useful both based on what we already know of her, and I made a video briefly talking about it, and also we never had a bad Archon so far, and they all have their own use and are able to showcase the value of their respective elements. We will also get banners of Ayato, Baiju, and Sino. If you're interested in any of those characters, then you might want to hold off and save for them. What do you guys think about both characters, and will you pull on these banners? Now for the last point of this video, I want to talk about the 4 stars of this banner that you should consider, because as you guys know, the current banner of Neuvillette and Hu has 3 great 4-star characters that can enhance your account and can synergize well with both characters, but this time we have Chongyun, Thoma, and Dori, and they will not synergize well with Venti and Wriothesley, so you should keep that in mind as well, and all 3 of those characters are not as good as you might think. Especially if you're a newer player, you might be able to use Thoma in some teams, especially for Virgin teams, but outside of him, you may not be able to use Dori as a newer player, and Chongyun only works in certain situations. With that in mind, let me know down below in the comments what do you guys think about the 4 stars and the 5 stars of these banners, and who are you going to pull for. I would love to read your comments, and consider subscribing for a lot more content in the upcoming days, and I would highly appreciate it. It will help me a lot to stay motivated and improve my content. So have a good day or night, and peace.